Welcome to the League Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Shane Youman. Joining me on this episode is former big league infielder, Mr. Jeff Keppinger. Keppi, man, what's going on?
What's up? How you doing, Sugar Shane?
I'm doing all right, man. We got you in the Zoom universe now, man. We did some technical stuff to get you on this podcast, man. I appreciate you taking the time out. I know your kids helped you out a little bit, so tell them I said thank you for that, because we had to have you on the show today, man.
No doubt. Thanks for having me, man.
For sure, man. So we're gonna hop in and talk about your journey, man, as a baseball player. You know, growing up in Florida, Hollywood, Florida to be exact, and then moving over to Georgia later on in your teen years, and then, you know, standing out at the high school, Parkview High School out there in Lilburn, Georgia, and then going to Georgia, going on to the University of Georgia, you know, doing well over there, and then being drafted by the Pirates, and then making your big league debut with the New York Mets. But I'm going to talk about all those things, man. But first off, I want to know, how did you get your start in baseball, man? How old were you when you started playing the game of baseball?
Oh, man, 3 or 4. I got a brother that's a year and a half older than me, and he was a baller too. He played in the minor leagues with the Royals, and all I did was chase him around, wanting to do everything that he did. So, man, I owe it all to him. That's the reason why I made it to the big leagues, because if I didn't have him and chasing him all through my childhood growing up, man, I never would have had a chance to make it.
Yeah, man, you sound like Ryan Terrio. He had an older brother too that he used to run around and chase to play the game of baseball. But your older brother was a lefty, right? He pitched, right?
Yep. Yes.
And so that's where you got that advantage hitting against lefties, because you had to face your brother in the yard. So
he threw me batting practice. He threw me batting practice every offseason, man. So, yeah, that's why my splits were always better against the lefties.
That's a good luxury to have, man, and people don't realize that. But you know, being able to do those things and get those things at a young age helps you to continue to develop and play the game at a high level. But you said you started at about 3 or 4, chasing your brother around. What was the biggest thing for you in this sport as a youngster that kind of kept you motivated? You know, you said your brother, but something else kept you motivated to continue playing that sport. What was that?
I wanted to get to the big leagues. You know, I mean, I don't watch baseball now, but growing up, I love Pete Rose. Pete Rose was my man. So anytime I went to my grandpa's house, he was from Kentucky, just over the river from Cincinnati. So he was a huge Reds fan. So every time we'd be at his house, and he lived in the same neighborhood as us. So every time we were over there, the Reds game would be on. And, you know, he had so much knowledge of the game of baseball. I mean, he coached us a few years along with my mom and my dad. Those were basically my 3 coaches my whole life until I got to about high school level. And just being amazed at, you know, the guys on TV playing baseball. And I just wanted to be that guy that would be on TV playing baseball one day. And that was it. It was just do everything I could do to get there.
Yeah, man, that's a lost art. Kids don't watch the game no more. You said Pete Rose is crazy. Your grandpa was a Cincinnati Reds fan. You love Pete Rose, and you became a Red at a particular point in your career. So everything came full circle in that sense. And to follow those dreams, to have that dream at a young age and to continue to follow that dream and to be motivated by guys you saw on TV is huge, because you said you don't even watch the game now, but growing up, you was glued to the TV like some kids are glued to the TV for cartoons, watching the game of baseball, enjoying the game, so on and so forth. So, Keppi, man, you growing up in Florida, started playing your baseball out in Florida. Then you transition. You guys make a move to Georgia around what? You were 12 or 13 at that time. You moved to Georgia, and talk about that transition from Florida to Georgia, and how that may have affected your career.
You know, for me and my brother, I mean, we both felt the same way on this. So we felt like baseball was more advanced in Florida than it was in Georgia. It seems like here in Georgia that people more base sports around football. So they're more seems like it's more of a football oriented sport or state here. And down in Florida, to be honest, like I don't even remember seeing much football. Like even at the rec parks and stuff like that, it was baseball everywhere. So when we got to Georgia, it just seemed easier because there was a lot of two-way athletes. There was, you know, multiple sport athletes. Where down in Florida, it seemed like, I mean, don't get me wrong, there was multiple sport athletes down in Florida at a young age, but it seemed like more kids specialized in baseball then and did a lot more for baseball than they did up here in Georgia. Up here in Georgia, baseball was kind of like the fun thing to do in the spring when football wasn't going on. So, you know, the transition was actually really easy. It was easy to get a lot of confidence because it seemed like the competition level went down.
Yeah.
So it was easier to excel. You know, when you can excel in anything and you can do good in anything, then, you know, it makes you feel good and makes you want to keep doing it. So definitely was an easy transition. I can only imagine if the kids that lived here in Georgia did it the opposite and moved to Florida. I think they'd be a little surprised, you know, with the competition that they were playing against and, you know, not be as good as they were while they were here in Georgia.
No doubt, man. It's definitely that. But transitioning to a new state, a new city, you have a group of friends you're playing with, you're probably getting close to establishing those relationships, and then boom, you leave. Did that take any type of toll on you? I know you had your big bro, you followed him. That was huge to have a somebody to look up to, an older brother that was playing the game as well. But those friends that you played with, was it tough for you to leave that whenever you guys made the transition over to Georgia?
You know, it was a little tough with leaving the friends. I mean, I think at that age I was in seventh grade. And you know, when you go from elementary school to middle school, you probably lose half the kids in the school because they go to a different middle school. So, you know, I didn't get to the high school level where I had like solid friends. I just had, you know, a couple kids in the neighborhood that were friends. So like, as far as friends go and stuff, that didn't really bother me too much. I actually think it helped out a lot by moving here and not knowing a lot of people, because then it was more me and my brother, you know, side by side and hanging out, being good friends those first couple years until we, you know, met more people at school. But it was more on wanting to establish ourselves as good baseball players, you know, because here we are, the new kids coming into town. My brother was a freshman in high school when we moved here, and I was starting eighth grade. So, you know, he was the first kid ever to make varsity at our high school as a freshman.
Wow.
The coach just never believed that 14-year-old kids could play with 18-year-old kids. You know, no matter how good they were just too small. Yeah. And, you know, not mature enough, not big enough. And that's just how he was. But he was a lefty pitcher, so they didn't even let him bat his freshman year. So he kind of didn't like it that much. But for me, you know, it allowed me to put more focus on my game actually, and do the things that I like to do that I did growing up in Florida that I was bored with, you know, just pick up a tennis racket and hit a tennis ball against the wall, or throw a racquetball against the wall and try to backhand it and shoot baskets and swing golf clubs around the yard. I didn't have any friends, so I didn't have to waste my time going around and trying to hang out with friends and you know, appease them. That I could put a lot of time into sports. And I mean, that's basically what, you know, my life was all about, was, you know, whether it's kicking a soccer ball or throwing a baseball, shooting a basketball, whatever we could do. I mean, that's basically what I did nonstop growing up. I mean, everything was based around get out of school. Hey, you guys want to ride your bikes up to, you know, the basketball courts of the school, play basketball? You guys want to, you know, that's how I live. So everything evolved around sports.
Definitely the life of a kid growing up in the 80s and 90s. You know, you don't see that so much now. So many kids have these video games and cell phones and stuff like that, to where they don't go outside and play. But, you know, I'm only a year older than you, so I remember the times of going and ride my bike, going shoot basketball at somebody's house, playing football in the yard, all of those things that, believe it or not, it helped you grow as an athlete in whatever sports that you play by partaking or participating in these different sports. And with that being said, Keppi, man, did you play another organized sport besides baseball? Did you play any other sports from an organized standpoint?
Yeah, I played soccer. I played soccer.
Nice, yep. nice.
Played soccer all the way till I moved up here to Georgia in eighth grade. And it happened here that at high school, soccer was in the spring with baseball. So I had to pick one. Yeah. So I had to pick one. And I think it was opposite in Florida. I think Florida soccer ran in the fall for some reason. Now I could be wrong on that, but this is what I thought. So yeah, man, at that point when we moved here, I had to give up soccer, and I really didn't want to give it up. I mean, I was just as good in soccer as I was in baseball. Yeah. And I love soccer. It was fun to play, but it definitely helped me playing that sport as well. Cause I mean, just footwork, and moving around, kicking the ball. So, there's some benefits to playing soccer to help me out with baseball.
Yeah. Being a middle infielder, especially with footwork, being able to change directions, that's really important to have if you want to be, or if you want to play at a high level when you're talking about shortstop, second base, important positions when you're talking about a baseball team and putting guys in those spots. But man, let's talk about this. You made the transition from Florida, great weather to, I don't know what type of weather you're getting in Georgia, but you're saying right now it's cold. But transitioning over there, you're playing at a high level. Your brother is playing at a high level. When did you know you had a shot to play ball, maybe at the pro level or at the very least at a Power 5 collegiate level? When did you know that you had that opportunity?
We were always good growing up. I always got to play with him, and my brother was always the best kid on the field. It didn't matter where we were at, Florida, Georgia, playing soccer, playing baseball, like he was good. He was good at everything he could do. So I'd say high school for me. I mean, I always played up older age groups when I, growing up in baseball and played with my brother. Soccer, I played my own age, but baseball, I would always jump up because my parents and grandfather would coach us. So we stayed on the same team so we could be together and not have to drive all over the place.
Yeah.
But come high school, because, I mean, like I said, I was little playing up with those older kids. And, I mean, that's what gave me a lot of qualities that I was able to use in the big leagues. I had to learn them because I was the little kid growing up. Yeah. And, I couldn't hit the ball over the fence because the fences were too big for me. So, I had to do certain things, which helped me out.
Definitely. That's always a challenge. And
I would say high school. I'd say junior year in high school.
Junior year. What was that one game or that one situation that you like, damn, okay, this is real? Like, was it a letter? Was it a coach coming up to you after the game? What was it that gave you that that mindset of, I got a shot. I really got a shot now?
Well, I would say my sophomore year in high school. I was on JV. I was on junior varsity my freshman year, and then sophomore year, we won state. The first year, the only year that me and my brother played together in high school, we won the state title. And I mean, I was the leadoff batter. He was a 3-hole hitter. He was our ace pitcher. But that year I was team MVP. So it was the first time ever that I put up a better season than my brother playing against the same teams and the same pitcher. And, so that's why I said my junior year, basically that was at the end of sophomore year when we won state. So at that start of my junior year, like I knew that year, weight training started for me sophomore year. And I only hit 2 home runs my sophomore year. And they were both in the regional playoffs, and they were in Athens at the high school there in Athens. And it was like 250 to center field. It was like, yes, it was, well, maybe not 250. Maybe 3. Well, how far feels that? 400? Yeah. It was like 330 to center. It was short, right, to center field. And it was like 300 down the lines. And that's where I hit my 2 home runs. So, once I got to my junior year, weight training had kicked in for a year plus the first half of my junior year. So I had weight training for a year and a half, and I could tell by looking in the mirror. Like, I matured a little bit. I put on some muscle. I wasn't just skin and bones anymore. Yeah. And and our high school field, it was only 365 to center with 305 down the line. So we had a short porch ourselves. Yeah. So I knew once I started putting on that muscle, okay, my junior year, I'm gonna start hitting some bombs, and I'm gonna, at that point, I knew, because I think my sophomore year, I hit 430, So, I was like, man, like, I'm going to keep hitting this and I'm only going to get older. By the time I get to my junior and senior year, like, I'm going to be the man. My brother was always going to be the man, but I knew by my senior year, he'd be out of the way. So I'd be able to blossom and into my own player. And, he had his own issues or whatever, and he didn't play his senior year. So my junior year, he wasn't there. So that's when I got to play without him for the first time in my life. And I really took off on my own.
Got to shine. That's crazy, man. I mean, I guess even back then you was always that hitter that hit for average. I know, watching you in college, playing against you in college, you hit for average and power. So I guess that all started, like you said, around your junior year, start to bulk up, see that muscle mature a little bit. The discipline at the plate was already there. Now the power numbers start to come. When did you get that call from Georgia, though? When did that happen? Or was it a bundle of schools that you were in touch with and decided on Georgia because you were in the home state?
Well, I mean, all those colleges send it out back in our day. I don't know how they do it now. There's a whole mess of stuff that they do now. Yeah. But, in our day, all they did was send out letters. They shipped you letters and mailed you letters, and you just open them up and say, hey, we're watching you, da-da-da-da-da. But I didn't know anything about college. I've never had aspirations of going to college, and no one in my family had ever been to college. Like, that wasn't a thing. I just wanted to play ball. So I was, in school, I always made good grades. I made straight A's and B's in high school. And, baseball was the thing I wanted to do. I set my mind to it back at that young age. And it was, hey, whatever it takes and whatever it does, what that's what I'm going to do. And, you said something about hitting for average, kind of my whole life. It was by being the young kid and little, playing up at the older age groups. I couldn't hit the ball over the fence. The pitchers were always throwing a lot harder than I should have been seeing at that time, but yet here's my brother, like I said, the best out there on the field, the free-hole hitter, the ace pitcher on all the all-star teams. So I'm like, I got to make the all-star team, so what do I got to do to make the all-star team? And it's like, I can't hit home runs. So like, at those younger ages, I could use my speed, soccer helped me out with the speed. So like I was stealing bases there. So the one thing that I got was to, not strike out, put the ball in play and make something happen, whether if they make an error or not, just get on base. And that's the best that I can do to try to have a chance to make the all-star teams. And, that carried over through my whole life. And, it never really clicked in until probably halfway through my professional career. They're like, what, all those things back when I was a kid that I did, to just try to fit in and just try to, be good, actually pay dividends later on in my life.
That's crazy. You have so many kids that try to, I guess, be like the big boys and keep up by trying to hit for power and things of that nature. And they're not effective players. You kind of understood your role. You knew you wanted to be on that all-star team. You knew you wanted to be able to shine or stand out. So how can I do that? Well, let me use my speed. Let me use the fact that I have good hand-eye coordination, making contact, make something happen, put the ball in play. Now exactly. I'm a problem. I'm a problem on the bases now. I get on, I'm a problem. I got guys rushing throws, this, that, and the third. Kids need to hear that nowadays, Keppi. They need to hear that because everybody wants to hit the home run, the launch angle, this, to that. Until you put on that muscle like you did, until you start maturing like you did, hey, let me polish up the other parts of my game first.
I only hit home runs. I only hit home runs 6 years in my life. And it started first year was my junior year in high school. So then my senior years too, all 3 years in college. And then my first year in the minor leagues, I was in the home run derby, believe it or not, with that wood bat. But yet our rover instructor came in and said, hey, you're not going to be that type of hitter in the major leagues. So you better stop hitting that way now. And I'm like, well, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, this is how I've matured in my hitting. My whole life I was that little guy, hitting little line drives for singles and trying to steal bases and score runs. And once I put on that muscle in high school, that carried over to college, carried over to my first year in pro ball, but then they wanted to come in and change it up. But that's where everything I did at those young ages carried over. I could switch like that and go, I know how to do that. Okay, you want me to be a little Punch and Judy and just slap balls to the right side of the field and hit line drives back up the middle and move runners over? Fine, I'll do it. So my second year in the minor leagues, man, I think I finished second in the league in hitting, hit 325 with 2 homers.
Not too much pride. Not too much pride. Well, you should have said you were a prospect. You were a prospect, drafted high.
For a guy my size, and I mean, you played with me, so I'm not a big guy. I didn't have muscle on me. The only way I could hit home runs at the big league level or even the minor league level with a wood bat, I had to try. I literally had to swing for the fence. Well, you can see with the game of baseball now, like you said, everyone wants to hit home runs. Look what's up, strikeout numbers.
Yes.
I learned right away, hey, man, those good pitchers, you try to swing with everything you got to hit that home run, man, you don't see the slider, you don't see the changeup, you don't see the spins on the balls. You're just swinging and hoping that the ball's straight and hoping that he threw it right there to you. You know, but like I said, that was easy for me to change back up and go back to that little guy that I was my whole life growing up. And that's what I did. And it was like, you know what? I noticed nobody else wants to do that. Nobody wants to do it. So I'm like, you know what? Hey, I just want to play in the big leagues. I'll do those little things. If that's what you want from me, fine, I'll do it. So, hey, I gave up hitting home runs. I mean, I think in big leagues, I only hit 45 home runs.
Yeah.
I mean, which, you know, in 10 different seasons of playing in the big leagues, like that's like 4 or 5 a year.
4 or 5 a year.
You know, but yet, you know, I sacrificed that. You know, I didn't care to be the all-star. I didn't care to be the big superstar to, you know, to have the biggest contract and make the most money. I mean, I grew up with no money. So to me, hey man, minimum wage in the big leagues was a ton of money.
Hell yeah.
Like, I can do this for 10 years and then I get a pension and they pay me for the rest of my life. Sweet. Here we go. And it just so happened that nobody else wanted to play that way. You know, there was like maybe 4 guys in the big leagues who all they wanted to do was just make contact and move runners and that stuff, sack bunt, you know, and I kind of learned, you know, on certain pitchers, okay, my leadoff batter's not going to be able to steal. You know, this pitcher's quick. He slide steps. Catcher's got a cannon, quick on his time. Leadoff batter's not going to steal. And this pitcher, hey, he's one of the top 3 pitchers in the big leagues. So, like, he's not going to give up home runs. So, if me even swinging for the fence is just dumb. You know, it's just dumb. And then on top of that, getting hits off those pitchers is hard. So, you know what? I'm a sack bunt right here. I'm going to take one of my at-bats, not count. Now all I got to do is bloop one in. And, hey, by the end of the day, I'm 1 for 3.
1 for 3, yeah.
333, man. You're a Hall of Famer hitting those kind of numbers. And to be honest, I had 4 at-bats, and none of them were any good. The one hit was a blooper, but you know what? In that scorebook, hey, man, it looks like a line drive. Right. Exactly. So, like, hey, I made a living on it. And that's, you know, that's all I did. But
that's part of it, not having that pride. You were that type of before, you understood how to play the game. Again, you have so many people that are stubborn. You were a prospect, 4th round draft pick by the Pirates. You were drafted high. So they looked at you to be a guy that's going to play in the big leagues. You could have easily said, you know what? You guys drafted me for what I did at Georgia. I'm not about to change.
Right.
But you was okay with making that change. And we're going to talk about that journey in the minor leagues in a second. But I want to go into that decision to go to college. Were you drafted out of high school first off? Did you get the opportunity to get drafted out of high school, or it was just, hey, UGA and that's it?
Well, I had the opportunity. We had like a scout type of, or maybe like an assistant scout around our high school. And like I said, I didn't know anything about getting drafted. I didn't know anything about any of that. How you get into pro ball, nothing. But there was a guy that would come around our high school and he said, hey man, like the scouts got you around fourth or 5th round. I'm like, sweet. That means I get to go play pro ball? Like, yeah, I didn't care about the money. The money didn't matter to me. I was like, that's awesome, man. Yeah, tell them to draft me. Like, you know, I'll go. Well, I had some family issues and family problems. Had a high school coach that decided to badmouth my family, and it cost me. It cost me big time. Luckily, I had already signed that scholarship to UGA, So anyways, I got a phone call from Cincinnati, matter of fact, after day one of the draft, because in our day there was three days of the draft. I don't know how they do it now,
long draft.
Right, very long. So they went through 29 rounds in the first day. And the Reds called me at like 10 o'clock at night, I want to say, and said, hey, first thing the guy said, are you disappointed? And I'm like, well, yeah. Like, I was being told one thing by this guy around our school, which maybe, at that time I thought he was full of it then.
Yeah.
That guy didn't know what he was talking about then. So he called and he said, well, we want to take you with our first pick tomorrow. Will you sign? And I was like, well, didn't you go through 29 rounds already? And he was like, yes, we're going to take you with our first pick tomorrow. It should be 30th round. And, by that time I had started to learn that like, okay, you get going these certain rounds, you get a certain amount of money, and I was like, all right, 30th round, it was like maybe $5,000. So I'm like, well, $5,000 isn't going to do nothing. And I have a full scholarship to Georgia. So I said, thank you, but no, come out and watch me play at Georgia. I'm going to prove you wrong. That I'm not a 30th rounder, that I'm up there where, I thought I was 4th, 5th round, something like that. Well, it turned out that he had told me my junior year at Georgia that he had a file this thick on me and my brother where my high school coach, Hugh Buchanan, badmouthed me and my brother, and that he would give it to me, but the only way he'd give me that file is if I press charges for slander.
Wow.
Yeah, man. And here I am, though, junior year. I was an All-American all 3 years.
Balling.
And I'm like, we saw you every year at LSU. And I'm like, man, you know what? Like, I'm here. I went through my 3 years at Georgia. I played well. I know I'm getting drafted now. I don't know what round or what kind of money, but it doesn't matter anymore because there's no option to go to college anymore. So I'm going no matter what I get. And so, I got, like you said, I got drafted in the 4th round, man, and the rest is history.
That's crazy, man. I persevered through that. It's,
well, my senior year in high school, I didn't live at home.
Yeah.
I lived 4 different places. And that was a part of the coach bad-mouthing me and stuff. Like, it was bad on his part. It was really terrible on his part, man. And, I was only a kid. And, my dreams and aspirations were to play ball. I mean, I finished with like a 3.28 grade point average at school. I wasn't a bad kid. There was no reason to badmouth me. I showed up to every game, every practice, school. Like I did everything I was supposed to do. And this guy, I don't know, power tripping or something, and I guess he just didn't want to put his name behind me in case, I did something bad or did something wrong. I still to this day don't know. Haven't talked to him, haven't confronted him. I'd love to confront him about it.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. And you know what? My career turned out fine and I'm good. So kind of past me now.
You're still here with us and we sharing your story. So
yeah,
that in itself, you know what I'm saying? And you can't get a 3.2 by not going to class. So I know you was going to class, so right. That's crazy. You hear stories like that every now and again, but you have some guys that persevere through it and some guys allow that to get the best of them and they can't focus and grow from it. But you were able to do that. Full pension in the big leagues, if that's not the case, you don't get that full pension. You might not even finish up at Georgia, get drafted if you're allowed to get to you from the mental side. But talk a little bit about them years in Georgia. And yeah, we did face off. I always knew you as a power hitter, because you hit a lot of home runs in college. But talk about that experience, leaving the high school ranks, going to Georgia, SEC, big time baseball, always compared to at the time we played, that was AA level baseball that we played in college.
Yeah.
So talk about that experience playing against, men playing against All-Americans. Yourself, you were All-American, just in the hunt to go to the College World Series every year. Talk about that experience when you first stepped on campus at Georgia.
Well, see, for me, I think it helped me out a lot that my team wasn't good my freshman year. We had a lot of freshmen playing. Yeah. Which, in SEC baseball, that's not common.
No, it's not.
You might get one in your line. I'm talking lineup, not just pitchers or anything, but just our lineup. I think we had 4 freshmen starting, and in a lineup of 8 out there, that's half your lineup. So
yeah,
we were that helped me out a lot. It took a lot of pressure off. I couldn't imagine it'd have been a whole different story for me freshman year if I would have went to LSU, where you guys were good year in, year out, man. They expected championships. You got to perform. You got to do all this. So for me, I mean, I think we probably had 300 people in the stands, you know, so like it wasn't much pressure at all. It was like, oh man, just go out here, prove yourself all over again. You know, like nobody expects anything here. We're not very good. So, hey man, but we do got a young class. So it was actually a rather easy transition for me because there wasn't much competition on my team to battle me out for, you know, my position. Yeah. So I kind of had it handed to me based on what I did in high school. I didn't really have to earn it once I got there. So for me, it was easy, man.
If you kept it, you were able to keep it. You didn't let that get to your head either, which was important.
No, well, I didn't understand it.
Yeah, no better.
I thought everybody was good, and I was like, oh man, I got to do all this. But now looking back on it, like, hey man, I really didn't have anybody pushing me to take my spot or whatever. I mean, I think we had my sophomore year. So, well, it would have been my freshman year because of recruiting, but Brandon Phillips, he's a year behind me, just like you are. Well, he was signing to go to Georgia as well. Well, he was a shortstop too. Yeah. He wanted to play short. Well, here I am. I was an All-American freshman year, and they're like, well, I don't know if you're going to be able to move Keppi out of there, you know? And I'm like, man, if they would have told me that in my head then, I'd be like, yeah, I'll move to second base. I'll move over, man. I'll bring him on our team.
That would have been nasty.
I wanted to win. You know, we had, but the two guys that we lost that year, Brandon Phillips and Jason Worth.
Wow.
Dude, you would add them to us by our sophomore year, your freshman year? Ooh,
College World Series, I think y'all would have won it probably.
Well, we win our junior year. So, I mean, yeah, if you would have put those two guys in our lineup, yeah, I think we would have won. I mean, the two games we lost in the World Series my junior year, we lost to Mark Pryor, who at that time was the best college pitcher ever. And we put up 8 on him. So that was the most he ever given up in a college game, probably in his whole life. And then the second game we lost was to Tennessee, who's in the SEC, in our division. And, I mean, we played slugfest. I mean, we played 18-15 was the score. You know, so you add those two guys to our lineup too, man. Oof, we would have been nasty.
Yeah, that would have been nasty.
So for me, man, it was kind of an easy transition from high school to college.
Yeah. That's cool, man. I didn't know, but when you think about it, we talking about this journey, man, and everything that led up to the big leagues, and you hear the stories about guys that would have signed with certain universities or certain schools, you hear the names, you know, Phillips, Gold Glove winner, 10 plus years in the big leagues. Jason Worth, same thing, you know, 30 plus home runs a year, signs big contracts yourself, you know, playing in the big leagues for 10 years. Like, damn. It would have been really, really competitive in the SEC. It was already competitive, but it would have been like guys would have been going straight to the big leagues right out of the SEC when you look at those names. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy, man. And then, you know, going through it, having the success you had all 3 years. How many years did you play for Coach Pope? I know he was there for a time, right? Ron Pope.
2
years.
He wasn't there my freshman year. He came in the first year of my sophomore year. And that's why I think he came there. He was looking to get his foot back in the door at Mississippi State. And he came, I think at the time, he was the Team USA coach for the college players. So he would come in, you know, to watch all the schools. So he came in to watch us one time. And I think he realized how young we were. You know, we had a bunch of freshmen. And our weak spot, because my freshman year, I think as a team, we hit 340. So we hit my freshman year, but our pitchers were just, they really didn't need to be pitching in SEC games, but that's what we had at the time. So, you know, we needed our younger guys to develop, and you know, by the time we got to junior year, we were good because they finally got the older pitchers out of the way, man, and let the younger pitchers come in that were better, you know, to go with our hitting. But
how was it playing for that legend though? Ron Polk is a legend. So I mean, what was that experience like playing for him? I played for Skip. And when you think about SEC baseball, you think about those two coaches. So how was it playing for Coach Polk?
Phenomenal. It was awesome, man. I mean, listen, number one, man, the guy coaching, I mean, any coach that has his own book that is like a number one seller out there, man, like read it. It tells you how to line a field, how to fertilize the grass,
everything,
how to set up practice, how to run game. I mean, it tells you everything about the game that you need to know, how to build a field. Like, there's everything in that book. But man, the one thing that I liked about him is that he was so structured, which is very good for young athletes, you know, with as far as practice went, like on certain times with the watch. And, you know, we're going to run these drills and explaining it all out on why we're doing these things and why we're not doing these things. As far as missing classes, listen, I'm not going to yell at you guys. I'm not going to get upset if you miss class. You're going to get in trouble if you miss class and you don't come to me that day and let me know that you missed class. All you got to do if you miss class is go up to him. Coach, I missed class today. Okay, why'd you miss class? My alarm didn't go off. I overslept. Okay. That's it. Go about your day. But there was about 3 guys, man, that didn't tell them, and they got it. Boom, you're on the bench a whole week. You're sitting. It don't matter who you are. It don't matter how good you are. You're sitting the bench. Like, his legacy is bigger than any player that's going to come through that school. And he's going to, you know, he kept it. He ran a tight ship. That's for sure, man. So, like, I thought it was awesome. You know, I see a lot of coaches now that let players kind of do a lot of things on the field. You know, in our day, man, when we got to the big leagues, you know, some of those older guys talk about respect the game and, you know, do all that. And if you watch baseball now, like,
yeah, it ain't that
stuff wouldn't have flown. They wouldn't have flown when we first got there. Some of the stuff they do with bat flipping and, you know, showing stuff off, hot dogging it, not running. Like, that's where he was good. With that, man. He demanded it, and if you didn't give it, there was no yelling, no screaming, no getting in your face. It was just, boom, you're at the game. And he had no leeway on that, you know? Like, it was, if you did it, then you're out. You're sitting. And I think that works. I think it works, especially with young kids.
Definitely, man. It sets you, it keeps you humble. It keeps you humble.
Yes.
And lets you know it doesn't matter, man. No easy routes in life. No easy routes in the game of baseball, no easy routes in life. He definitely was preparing you guys for life, for when you step off that field and you have to go into the real world. You know, similar to Coach Bergman, he'd cuss us out though and stuff
really?
Like that. Yeah, but if we miss class, then we'd definitely be in trouble. Don't let him find out, no matter what. You know what I mean? So, but those guys are just alike in that sense. Different styles, but they getting the same point across, which is huge.
Right.
Like I said, in the growth of you, maturing as a man. So tell me this, Keppi, man, you go through the 3 years, you do your thing at Georgia. You know, you play for a great coach. Here it is, that draft day, June 2001. You're focused on the College World Series. Now tell me, y'all made it to the College World Series that year. Was it tough, man, knowing that, hey, my draft stock is this, but I'm also having a focus on helping my team win a national championship. We're preparing to go to the College World Series. The draft is around the same time you're playing in the College World Series. Talk about that focus or what it took for you to stay focused on helping your team win ball games in Omaha and not allowing the draft to distract you.
Well, by the time we got to the College World Series, the draft had already went. So I was already drafted. You know, and I was like, yeah, it's my time to shine. You know, like now I know they're going to put it up on the TV screen like, hey, he was drafted by the Pirates in the 4th round. And I thought that was cool. So I'm like, you know what? Hey, man, I got to show them that I'm good enough to be drafted there, regardless of what I've already done those 3 years. You know, like people watching the World Series on TV, they ain't never seen me play. You know, UGA baseball wasn't on TV nowhere. Like, there's a lot more games on TV now than then, and we didn't ever play on TV. I'm sure you guys probably did at LSU, but at Georgia, we'd never played on TV, man. So I'm like, you know what? It's time for me to make some noise, man, and let these people know, like, hey, I can play and I do belong there. And, you know, I didn't know at that time, but I'm like, hey, you know, what I do here and may help me get to the big leagues faster. So to me, it was great that I was drafted before we went there because it motivated me even more to give my all and play hard and, you know, try to do everything right and try to stay focused. You know, if I wasn't drafted and it went by, I probably would have been down in the dumps and I probably wouldn't have wanted to play and been like, you know what, man, this is what I lived my whole life for. And like, it's not happening. You know, I can only imagine. And same with you. You know, all the guys, man, that we played with that they didn't get there.
Yeah.
And, but they put their life there, their whole life trying to get there, and it didn't happen. So, I don't know how I would have been, man, because it all worked.
Yeah. And that's always cool that it did work. Everybody's different in how they set themselves up in situations like that. You were still able to have that laser focus. You were drafted already. That served as motivation, because I want to show these folks that don't get a chance to see me play. I'm on TV now. Hey, I'm worth that 4th round pick that the Pirates decided to take me.
Yes.
You finish up the college career. Unfortunately, fall short in the College World Series. Was it easy? Was it easy for you to just ink your name down on that contract and get your pro career going with the Pirates?
No, I actually missed. No, don't get me wrong. It was easy for me to sign, yes. But, I didn't know anything about agents or any of this kind of stuff. So, like, my assistant coach at Georgia said, here, man, here's an agent. And I'm like, okay, what do I need him for? I didn't know what they do or whatever. So this guy calls me up and starts talking to me. And he was like, he had Jose Bautista, with the Pirates as well. Yes. Well, he was a draft and follow at Chipola Community College.
Yeah.
Well, we got him $750,000, and he was like a 35th round or something. So he was telling me not to sign for what they were offering me, that he's like, listen, you're one of the best shortstops in the country. I don't care what round you got drafted in. The Pirates got nothing. They've stunk for a long time. Like, they're looking for you to be their next shortstop. And I'm like, well, okay. I just followed him. I followed on what he's told me to do because I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
And I was like, look, I want to go play. I didn't know that if I waited too long that I would miss that first season. I didn't know about, when your 3 years come up, you can, you're on your protection year to be put on the 40-man roster. I didn't know all that stuff. I didn't know any of it. I wasn't told. I just knew, man, I want to play ball and I want to try to get to the big leagues. So I actually got to about 2 days before school started back up again. And I thought I was going back to school. I went and told the coach, hey, I'm coming back. And he's like, what? I said, we already gave your scholarship away. I said, well, okay, then. Like, I'm going to go call up LSU, man. I'm going to call up Miami because that's where I'm from. I'm going to come beat you. If you're just going to let me go and not keep me. He's like, whoa, wait a minute now, Like,
we're going to work something out.
But the coach knew, because Polk was gone then. The coach knew he was the assistant for all the coaches that, Polk and the one before Polk, and he ended up being the head coach after Polk. So he knew my whole situation with my family and all that stuff. And he knew, like, hey, man, pro ball is the route that I want to go. I'm not looking to do anything else. I just want to go play ball. And he was like, man, you got to go sign. He said, don't be worrying about this money. I said, well, you're the one who set me up with this agent.
Yeah.
He's telling me not to sign. So what? Needless to say, I fired the guy that day. He never did anything for me. I hired the agent that my brother had. Got signed in like 2 hours.
That's crazy.
Then off the play. So, like, yes, I just wanted to sign. It'd be easy, but, like, because I was led the wrong information, it made it tougher, man. But that's where I think parents run into trouble nowadays, man. They need to understand who they talk to.
Yeah.
And who they listen to, because those people that are guiding some of these young kids, they're all about their percentage check that they get off of this signing bonus. So, if they've got 20 other guys that are in the big leagues making them $2 million a year, they don't care about your son, getting started in his career or any of that. They really do not care. They're just about their money to bring home money for their family. And if they're making enough from other players, they're going to try to squeeze out as much money for you as possible, whether it's the right decision for you or wrong decision for you. And that's where I think a lot of these younger kids and, actually players like us, ex-players, those should be the people who are helping out these young kids as far as the information on, hey, man, listen, I'm watching you play. I'm looking at your numbers. Like, this is the prototype typical player you're going to be, you're probably worth around this X amount of dollars, like trying to sit there and, all parents think their kids should get $10 million and be the number one overall pick. And
talk to him, Keppi.
So,
talk to him, man.
But it should be ex-players where a lot of these people get their information. And unfortunately, it's not. It's businessmen that are the agents don't get me wrong. There's some agents that do care about the players or whatever, but man, they're just getting checks based off how the player does. So those young kids like get drafted out of high school, those agents only care about how much money you're getting because they get their cut of it.
Keppi, preach, baby, preach. Because, man, believe me, man. I run into some of those same problems here. That's my focus, to try to help them kids navigate, and parents navigate through the college process, the professional process, if it comes to that. So, hey, Keppinger Consulting Agency, hit them up. Hit them up because they need that game. They need it. They need that game. But they look at the guy, may pull up a certain way, or you know how some of these guys are. Hey, I represent this guy. I represent that guy.
Yes.
I have this guy. I'm about to sign this guy. So they name drop. So they suck the parents in. Oh, really? Oh, you do this, you do that, and then they're lost. And then once they sign and ink their name on that for them to represent, he push them over to that assistant. That third.
The one thing I can say to these parents of young kids that are getting drafted and they're trying to figure out what to do, go with the guy that will tell you to your face what the issues are with your son, instead of the guy who will tell you everything that you want to hear just so they can get your son, so they can make that money off your son. I'd rather have it's not whether I would rather have it, but they should rather have it to somebody that's going to shoot them straight. And, whether it's good or bad information, well, not good or bad information, but whether, the things are bad, about like, hey, man, yes, I get it. Your son put up these numbers in high school and everything, but, you put that wooden bat in his hand and you start putting major league pitching on the mound, he's not going to be doing this and this. Like you said, I was a power hitter in college. I was a punch and Judy in the big leagues. So don't, you know what I mean? It ain't the same.
Exactly.
So you need to hear from people that have been there and done it and understand it, rather than just these, some of them. Some of them are good, but to some of them that are going to feed these parents whatever they want to hear just so they can sign your kid.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, man, and that's how it should be. But hey, we got to get them to buy in, and then even when they buy in, there's still somebody tugging them. But we definitely need to continue to focus on helping these kids grow, because we didn't have that growing up, but now they have access to everything, and they have pro guys like yourself, like me, and like so many other guys that are willing to help out and give them that information. Now, are you willing to take it and apply it to what you're doing? That's the biggest question. For you, maybe you'd have been playing 15, 18 years in the big leagues if you had, some guidance earlier on in your career, but you still
social media.
Yeah.
Social media. We didn't have that. Exactly. And that's good. It's good. And there's a lot of bad in social media, in my opinion. These parents see a lot on these videos and, whatever. And, it's not always the best, but they take that information as if it's gold. And it's just, they're leading their kids in the wrong path and telling them the wrong information. And that's just, it's not reality. And then the kids get there and they realize that that's not reality.
That's not what it is.
And a lot of them don't put that effort in anymore. They're kind of over it. I had a buddy that just quit. He just quit he was with the Reds, and he just hung them up. And he actually, obviously the minor leagues didn't play this year, but the year before he finished at low A ball, and then, he started at low A ball, finished at high A ball. He ended up closing at both levels and had right around a 2 ERA or sub 2. And one of the levels led the league in saves, and he was only there half the year. And I'm like, you're quitting? Yeah. Man, you're right there. You're going to be in Double A the next season, and right then you're knocking on the door to be there, man. Don't give it up. But he just got married and he's ready to move on in life. So hey, all right.
Well, power to you. So speaking on that,
he let the grind. He let the grind of the minor leagues, man. And you know how that is. There's a lot of stuff coming in and going out, and you're not good enough. They're trying to test you. They're testing you to see if you want it bad enough, if you're going to stick around through the good and the bad, or if you're just a guy that, hey, man, you've always been the best in Little League. You were always the best in high school. You were the best in college. Now you get here to pro ball and hey, this is all the best players too. You're not the best, but we want to see how you handle that. And some guys fold, some guys step up, some guys just stay the steady eddies. They test the minor leagues test your mental toughness.
Definitely. And speaking on that, Keppi, you went to Georgia, nice uniforms, good facilities, and that first experience of pro ball. Was it a downgrade? Was it like, I really don't care, I'm just here to play ball? Was it an eye-opening experience? Because I think you went straight to Hickory, right, in 2002. You played in Hickory. That's not Athens, Georgia. When you talk about your facilities and everything like that, your uniforms. So talk about that. Did that throw you for a loop? Knowing like, damn, this is pro ball. I'm on the bus now. I'm not flying. I got to share a seat. I don't have my own seat, stuff like that. So talk about that first experience in pro ball for you.
No, that didn't bother me at all, man. I mean, like I said, man, I came from no money. So, I mean, none of that stuff really mattered to me. Once again, it was my path to get to the big leagues. And that's the only focus I ever had in my mind, that I'm getting there. I don't care what it is. I'm getting there. And, for me, everybody's playing on that field.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everyone's in that locker room. Everyone's traveling on those buses. Everybody that wants to get to the big leagues is doing this. So to me, it was just a process that you have to do. You have to do this to get there. The only thing that I didn't like is the playing surfaces weren't as good as the SEC.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm an infielder, so that playing surface really mattered to me. So I'm like, okay, now, dang, I did think the fields were going to get better, but they got worse. And, that makes it harder to play defense. Like, balls bounce a little more. The fields get harder. I was like, all right, but hey, man, I got to do it. Everyone's got to do it. Got to do it. It's more of a reason to get to the big leagues, because once you get back there, now those fields are better than even the SEC fields. So, it was just that's the only thing that mattered to me was the surface of the fields in the minor leagues weren't as good as the SEC surfaces.
Gotcha. So we talk about this, and that's when obviously I run into you again. You were a level ahead of me. I played short season my first year, but we both signed the same year. Didn't play like yourself. I ended up signing later as well. But you're starting to establish yourself as a professional, as a prospect. The Pirates are really high on you. You're going to the instructional leagues every fall after the season's over with. You're starting to navigate, get comfortable. Again, like I said, establish yourself as that prospect. 2002, you have a great season. You hit the home runs. The Sally League was known for home runs. You hit a lot of home runs at that level, but then having that roving instructor tell you, hey, man, if you want to play in the big leagues and if you want to play in the big leagues for a long time, you need to focus on playing the game a different way, something that you did as a youngster, and moving runners over, hitting behind runners, all of those things instead of, hitting a home run. You start to establish that. And you make it to high A, double A in 2004, I believe. You're in Altoona, and then boom, you get traded. Was that a surprise to you because you were establishing yourself as possibly being the next shortstop for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and then you're traded to the New York Mets? Talk about that. I was at second base already. My first year in Hickory, they moved me to second base, so they had already told me. Like I said, that's why I said your mental toughness comes into play. They broke me down the best they could. They told me what I did in college was not shit. And, this is a whole different ball game. There's a whole different ball game over here. You're with the big boys now. And, you can't do these certain things. And, I could do those things. And I knew I could. And they couldn't tell me that I couldn't. At that point, I was mentally strong enough in the game of baseball with my abilities to know what I could do and what I couldn't do. But the trade got me by surprise, yes. Because April, May, June, we were into June, and I was hitting 410 in double A. In the Eastern League.
And I'm like, man, I'm leading everything. I'm leading Japanese league, major leagues, minor leagues, you name it, a professional league. Number one batting average is me to that time. And I'm like, man, how can you not want me? Now, again, this is how many home runs I had. And none.
They told you they didn't want you to do.
Because they told me they want me hitting the ball opposite field. So, hey, man, and they always batted me in a 2-hole. Well, Beasley and
of course.
Tony Beasley now with the Rangers and Dave Clark. So Dave Clark was my manager second year, Beasley was my manager first year, and then Beasley was my manager again third year. Well, my second year, Beasley told Clark, hey, man, let Keppi put on his own hit and runs. Just let him do his thing. Clarky was like, okay, go ahead, man. So, man, I had me a little signal with my leadoff batter, had me a little signal, man, like, hey, I give you this, just go. Just go. If he throws me a fastball, I promise you I will not swing and miss, but I will swing. I don't care where it's at. It's over my head. I'm going to swing. You're not going to get thrown out. If they throw an off-speed pitch, you got a bag. You know, and I had guys looking at me. I did it in the big leagues too.
Wow.
I did it with Michael Bourne. In Houston. And he led the league in stolen bases that year. And he looked at me and he's like, man, I ain't never had anybody tell me that before. I was like, listen, do they put on the steal sign for you? And he thought about it for me. And I go, I'll answer it. No, they don't. You have the green light, man. You're the fastest guy in the world. You can steal bases whenever you want, whenever you go. So just watch me. Don't watch the coach for the sign. Just watch me. If I step out of the box and I mess with my elbow pad or something, just go. Take off and steal. Doesn't matter if you get a great jump, bad jump, whatever. Just go. I'm going to protect you. And, man, he stole 80 bags that year or something or whatever. But, you know, I made it work, man. I made those things work. But, you know, getting traded right there at AA, I actually got to the big leagues that year. So it was the best thing for me that could happen, man, to get traded. And I was finally happy because, like I said, those 3 years I was with the Pirates, all they did was told me the things that I couldn't do. That's all they did. They told me the things I could not do. So I felt that team didn't want me. And I was happy as could be to get traded. And it happened to be that it was involved with a big league trade. And you know how that goes, man.
Yeah.
Like they called up the two big league guys from the middle infield at AAA, and they called me up to AAA. And I was there for a week. Ended up hitting like 320 in that week, but I was locked in though. So it was like perfect timing to get called up to AAA. And then, man, within that week, another guy in the big leagues in the middle infield get hurt. So all three middle infielders got hurt. Boom, I got called up. And then, like, I sat the bench for the first 3 or 4 games because the starters were the AAA guys now. That was a shortstop and second baseman with the AAA guys. And I'm like, oh, okay, I can hang with these guys if they're up here playing. And their numbers were no good in the big leagues. So I'm like, hey, when I get the pinch hit every now and then here and there, I just got to flip in a little hit. They're going to let me start. And then, man, within like 4 or 5 days that I was there, man, I took over the job at second and finished out the year as a starting second baseman.
Yeah.
So it was awesome. It was awesome to be traded then.
How was that, though, man, when you got the call? I mean, you said you were locked in at the time. And, you know, you got traded that year from the Pirates over to the Mets in a big league deal, which carries a lot of weight. When you're in a big league trade, you know you're going to have an opportunity to get to the big leagues with that organization that traded for you. But, you know, you see guys start to drop a little bit, some injuries. How did that feel? How did you get the call? Like, where were you when you found out you were going to the big leagues, and how was it presented to you?
So I just got to AAA. I said I was there for a week. So I was still under that. You know, when you go to a new level or get called up or whatever, they give you the hotel for like a week or 10 days or something at home. So I was in a hotel at home in Norfolk, Virginia. And it was the trainer. The trainer called me up, dude. So I thought he was playing a prank on me. I thought he was full of shit. He was like, hey, man, come back. Where you at? He's like, where you at? I was like, I'm in the hotel, which is like right down the street from the ballpark. And he's like, all right, man, come back over here and pack your stuff. You're going to the show. And I'm like, dude, you're so full of shit.
Just nonchalantly,
Yeah. And I'm like, there ain't no way you're calling me. Like the trainer. Why would the trainer be calling me? Like not the coach, not the manager, not the big league manager, not my agent, but I'm like, man, there's too many other people I can name on my hand that you should be calling me to tell me I'm going up. And, you know, he was like, no, I'm serious, man. Like, get over here, get your stuff. You're gone. They need you there by tomorrow. They're in, blah, blah. And then he told me where they were at. And I looked that up real quick. They were in San Francisco. And he told me they were in San Francisco. He told me what time my flight was the next morning. I'm like, oh, okay. Sweet. Hell yeah. And then I started calling everybody, man. Started calling everybody that I could call. And that was just, crazy.
Yeah, man, I can imagine. I mean, everybody has a story for when they get that call up. You know, I shared mine a few times too, but to get it from the trainer, of course, and trainers in pro ball, they like to play around. So you definitely thought that he was bullshitting when he told you. And the way he said it, hey, man, pack your stuff. You're going to the big league.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Who's going to believe that?
And he was a jokester. Like, he liked to crack jokes and have a good time. A lot of them do, man, at those levels and stuff. So, I thought he was full of shit. I really did.
That's crazy.
I'm glad he wasn't.
Definitely. You get to put on that big league uniform and get on those nice fields to get them true hops on them ground balls. So that always plays a huge role in that, man. But just talk about that time you cracked the lineup. You're starting at second base. You said after about 4 or 5 days, you finish out the season as the starting second baseman. How much more extra motivation did you have going into that offseason now that you got a taste of the big leagues and you finished off as the starting second baseman?
Man, I mean, a ton of motivation, man. I was like, all right, here it is. I did it. I got there. I made it there. But now it's about staying. Now I got to stay there, man. So, it was extra harder in the weight room, which I've had back problems my whole career. They started in college. So that's why I was never big or bulky, because I couldn't lift heavy in the off seasons, man. I mean, playing every day, dude, you can't lift heavy.
No,
you can't. Not when you're playing that many games, because you're going to get hurt if you do. So, the time to lift heavy is the off season, try to put on a few pounds or whatever. But I never could, because I didn't want to hurt my back going into spring training. So, I mean, I did what I could, man, but put my extra stuff in and, man, went into spring training, and I absolutely killed it in spring training that year. And they sent me down to AAA.
Huh.
And that was a shot. That was a shot to the heart right there. Cause I'm like, man, I don't know what else I got to do, because the guy that they took to start at second base was below me in the minor leagues. So they jumped a guy below me to be the starter up in the big leagues, and he only made it a couple months.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that always bit me, man, is that they'd always put other guys in front of me because they didn't want me more than just a backup. And that's what bothered me the most in my career. But that also allowed me to do what I did and stay around as long as I did, because it motivated me, because I felt that none of these teams thought I was good enough to be an everyday starter. Well, I'm gonna prove it to you. I'm gonna show you. And that was my stride, man. I always had that chip on my shoulder to prove that I belong there and that I should be a starter, not just a utility guy.
I'm with you on that. You definitely had to kick down the door. Yeah, it kept you around for 10 years. You get that nice pension in about 20 years or so. So, you better sit back,
5 years.
Okay. Oh, really? Really?
You start collecting at 45.
Wow, I didn't know that.
You only get half of it, though. You only get half if you get at 45. It'll be.
You can go sit on the boat. You can go sit on the boat and enjoy the boat life a little bit more, or whatever it is that you want to do. So you put in that work. But how, staying with the Mets, man, you got traded. Where did you go from New York, man? Was it Cincinnati?
No, I went to Kansas City.
Okay.
And then I thought they were going to be my team that I stuck with. Went to AAA with them right when I got traded, but only for 2 weeks. Tore it up there in their AAA because I didn't play in that league before. Tore it up there and then get the call up. But at that time, they thought, and this is why I think they came to trade for me, they had Mark Grudzielanek. Mark Grudzielanek, that year that I got traded to the Royals, he won the Silver Slugger Award. But they thought from him, he was retiring after the year was over. Mm-hmm. Well, after winning the Silver Slugger Award, he decided to come back and get one more paycheck. So that offseason, they dished me off to the Reds because he was coming back. And the GM was like, listen, man, we're in the American League. So, you're either a starter or you're a bench guy. There is no pinch hitting for the pitcher. There's no double switches. There's none of that. So he did me a favor, man. He was like, I'm going to trade you off to a National League team where I think you belong in the big leagues, but we just don't have a spot for you. Yeah. So that's what got me traded to the Reds.
Gotcha. Your grandpa was happy, and then you got to play in the same organization as your childhood hero, Pete Rose, man. So moving over to Cincy. Who was the manager at Cincy at the time that you got over there? Who was your big league manager?
When I first got there, was Jerry Naron.
Okay. Okay.
Jerry Nairn.
Okay.
And then just for that first year. And actually in that first year, he got fired and we had Pete McCannon.
Pete McCannon. I was about to say that. You know, from the Pirates. Pete McCannon.
Yeah, he came in and took over for the rest of that season. And then that's when I hired Dusty Baker in that offseason. So then I had Dusty for my next 2 years there.
Gotcha. How was that experience? I hear a lot of good things about Dusty Baker as a manager. Got to meet him a couple times and as advertised, but how was it playing for him every day, 162 games, being around that guy?
Dude, awesome. I don't know if there's another manager in the game that has his players back as much as Dusty Baker does. You know, he doesn't buy into the guys upstairs, man, that are wearing the suits and ties to, you know, strong arm him into certain decisions and stuff. Like, I think before he goes in and takes a job at an organization, he lets them know that, like, hey, man, if I'm going to be your manager, it's my team. You know, you guys obviously give me the players, but once we get on the field and I'm writing lineups and I'm doing this, like, that's me. And I think that's how now, of course, I don't know, but like, you know, just seeing his demeanor and seeing how he acts out on the field and how he treats us players, he definitely tells them that, like, you know, you're going to leave me alone. You're going to let me manage and you're going to let me put my lineups in. And man, as far as how he is towards the players, you know, he lets you play. He's going to let you play and do your thing the way you want. Obviously, if you don't do it, you know, you see ya. Holla, there's other guys waiting in line that are knocking on that door trying to get up there. So you better put your work in and you better succeed.
Definitely.
You know how it is, man. You got to put up the numbers in the big leagues or you're gone.
Oh yeah. I've heard the stories, especially with him being a good players manager, and to have that experience to play for him. Yeah, I've always heard.
Joe Madden will probably be my number 2 one, but like their styles are totally opposite ends of the spectrum, man. I mean, Joe Madden's got your back and stuff like that, but yet it's just totally different. I don't know how to explain the two difference between them two, man, but it's weird that they have different styles like that. And like, I view them as very similar, like as far as how I feel about them. You know, Dusty would be like, man, just go out there and just hit that motherfucker to center field. Hit it up in the upper deck or something, man. You know what I mean? Like, Joe Madden won't talk to you that way. You know, he'll be more
laid back.
Super laid back, Joe Madden. I mean, he ain't yelling at nobody except the umpire.
Yeah.
You know, he's cracking jokes with you and shit, but like, I don't know. Dusty was more of a player. He was more of a player, even though he was your manager. Like, he talked like we did to each other, you know?
He wore the wristbands and he was ready. Back gloves when he needed.
Right, man. Like, I mean, and I think that's how he viewed it too, man. He still felt like he was playing in his playing days, but yet he gets to write the lineup up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he just had a day off for the day. He wasn't playing that day, so he just gets to sit there and watch. Yeah. He was awesome, dude. Those were the best 2 coaches that I had, managers that I had, for sure. That's
cool to play for some legends like that. And you know, you're moving through your career. You're starting to establish yourself as a veteran. So in the clubhouse, I mean, were you just business, or did you take on a leadership role once you got once you got yourself established at the big league level?
You know, the only team that I was able to take that leadership kind of leadership role was Tampa Bay. And that's because they had a young squad. But I mean, I was traded 5 times, man. So I never stuck with one team long enough to be able to be that role player, man, to be that kind of veteran presence in that locker room or whatever. So, yeah, man, I was right there getting there at the end of my career, but then ended up signing with the White Sox, who had guys that were older than me and been there longer than me. You know, so that was their job. And you know how it is, man. Like, it's certain people's roles. Certain players take over those roles and some don't. And like when I was with Tampa, I did. And when I went to the White Sox, I didn't because of the players that were on my team.
Yeah, but you led by example, because I know you took care of your business and got your work in the right way. So if there were any young guys that were coming up and saw the way you took care of business to prepare for your games, hopefully they took a page out of your book and was able to apply it to whatever they did. So whether or not it was vocally, I think for sure you led by example, man. And to stick around that long is definitely kudos to you, especially being traded, being doubted, and not really getting to shine and play every day like you were accustomed to coming out of college and early on in your career. So that mental toughness is huge, and we talked about a lot of that. You had that mental toughness. Use certain things as motivation to stick it through. Didn't give up, because it would have been easy to do that. But Keppi, man, you dropped some real valuable gems for a lot of these youngsters to kind of listen to and hopefully take heed to. And that's what this League Talk podcast is all about, to enjoy your career and your journey, but to also shed some light on what it takes and to help people out, to help them, to give them that extra push, that extra motivation, like you said, to be the top player at that position, to be the best that they can be, no matter what. But before we get out of here, man, we got a couple more things we're going to talk about. And then I have some questions for you to It's been fun, bro. I hope you enjoying this. It's been pretty fun. It's been pretty fun, but we didn't talk about this coming up. Who bought you your first suit, though, man, when you cracked the big leagues? You know, you hear the stories about guys taking youngsters out shopping, buying suits and things like that. Who was the guy that kind of took you under their wing and early on in your career and kind of showed you the ropes?
Nobody. No. The suits, Carlos Lee, my fourth team.
Astros.
Nobody with the Mets, nobody with the Royals, nobody with the Reds took me anywhere to buy me anything. And all three of those teams, they all treated me like rookies. I had to dress up. I had to carry all the beer for all three of those teams, man. I'm like, guys, come on. I've done this 4 years now. Like, they just kept doing it to me.
Still doing this?
Yeah, but that's because I kept getting traded, man. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's the one thing with my career that I didn't like, that I wish I could have stuck with one team or just two teams, to like get comfortable in that stadium and with that team and with that atmosphere. Like, man, sitting there bouncing from team to team to team to team to team. I mean, I played for 7 different teams in 10 years. Like, man, you never get that. That's where the mental toughness comes into play.
Yeah,
because like you don't ever get that comfortable feeling in there, man. But like, hey, you got to do it. You got to make it work, or you're going to be gone. There is no one that feels sorry for you. There's only guys back there knocking on the door wanting to take your spot. So you better, you better just shut up and don't be a little baby. And hey, man, just go ball out like you know how to do.
Yeah, but that's important.
Carlos Lee bought me 2 suits. I let him know, because I was on like my 5th year in the big leagues then. And I told him, I was like, you know what, man? No one ever bought me a suit, man. He's like, I got you, man. When we go to San Diego, he had a suit guy in San Diego, and he hooked me up with 2 suits. Wow, and I still got them today. I still wear them today.
Hey, tailor-made, made to you, man. However you like it. Yeah. However you like it, that's how you gonna get it. So
got my name on the inside of it.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Hey, that dude hit the hardest balls off me ever, Carlos Lee. I hated facing that guy.
That guy can hit, boy.
I hated facing that guy, man. But that's crazy, man. It took you 5 years. It's something that I always thought, and I played for the Pirates, small market team. But I had 1-2 guys that actually took me out and got me suits. I just thought that was part of the program. Especially the Mets. You got money guys playing for the Mets. Why not?
Big guys.
You got money guys playing for the Mets.
Hey, man. They took other guys, I guess. I couldn't tell you, man.
That's crazy. But, again, credit to you. I can't harp on it enough, man. The mental toughness, the extra motivation, whether it was negative stuff that came towards you or positive stuff. You allowed that to motivate you to be the best, to go out there and work harder, to kick down that door and let them know, hey, I'm staying.
That I did.
I'm staying here. No matter what you try to do, I'm staying here. I might have to change uniforms, but I'm going to be in a big league stadium, on a big league field. Could have easily folded. Could have easily been like, you know what, man?
Easily, man. It definitely gets to you, man. It definitely gets to you. Like, man, why do these teams not want me? Why are they trying to get rid of me? I don't understand. Because the Mets, the Royals, the Reds, all 3 of those teams, they were no good. They were no good. And when I played with them, like, I did good. Like, I did really good with them. I mean, with the Mets one year, or with the Reds, I hit .333. And I'm like, and you guys are getting rid of me? Like, there's so many other positions out here, man, that we can make our team better and we could win. And that's, by the time I say I got 30 years old, man, like I started to realizing that, you know, the game of baseball in the big leagues, they don't make the teams with the best players. They don't. There's a lot of politicking going on. You know, there's a lot of ass kissers. You know, there's a lot of favorites. So it's like, oh, well, it's between this guy. It's between this guy and this guy. Well, this guy's a little better. Guess who they take? They take this guy. Why? Oh, because he's friends with, you know, the assistant GM's wife. Their wives are good friends. And it's
they went to high school together.
That's how they take guys up here in the big leagues, man. Like, man, when you start to realize that, like, hey, it's not the best of the best. It's most of the best with most of the best.
Yeah.
You know, there's some guys that deserve it that are in the minor leagues that should be in the big leagues, but they're not for whatever reason. Whatever reason that organization doesn't want them in the big leagues, man, they're not there. I know you saw that.
I'll give you one name we both know. Vic Butler.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean, how many guys, dude, on all the teams I play, I never made it to the playoffs in the big leagues. So that just tells you that I was on a lot of shitty teams. And, man, there ain't too many guys on all those teams I played for that were better than Vic Butler. Maybe a handful of them, maybe. Yeah. You're talking seven different teams with 3 different outfielders. That's 21 different outfielders, and Vic's top 5. Vic's top 5 out of those 21, and yet never sniffed one pitch in the big leagues.
Yeah, bro.
Come on, man. There's something wrong with that.
It definitely
There's something wrong with that.
Man. Definitely is. It definitely is, man. It's crazy, but to know that and to see that and for people to understand that it is a lot of politics. It's not always the best of the best. It's some of the best of the best. And the other ones, it's about relationships. And like you said, you know, brown nose and ass kissing, however you want to put it, or I have a relationship with that family. I'm going to look out for you, my guy. But man, like I said, bro, this has been a classic podcast because we kept it real. You kept it real. You shed some light on some issues. I know it. I already know, Keppi. I already know. You know, we shed some light on some important things. And for everybody that's listening, hopefully they can take heed to it, whether or not you're an athlete or the parent of an athlete. Hopefully take heed to some of the gems that you dropped today, man. So before I let you go, we'll have a little more fun. I got 5 questions for you, man. I got 5 questions for you. Shoot them out. I'm gonna shoot out the question. You shoot out the answer, and then we're gonna shut it down, bro. So I'm ready if you're ready. So I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start from the youth side of things. Growing up, think about your little league. Your little league. That's the answer that I want based on your little league. You like nachos or Frito pie?
Nachos. I never had Frito pie growing up, so I didn't even know what that is.
Oh, they call it chili Fritos, you know, with the Fritos with the chili.
All day. I'll take the chili Fritos with cheese.
Frito?
Oh, yeah, boy. Give me that.
Yeah, so, you know, different places call it different things. Some people say Frito pie. Some people, I grew up knowing it as chili Frito.
Yeah, that's what I know it as. So I'll take that. I'll take
chili Fritos all day. How you like it dressed? You like it with cheese on it or no cheese? Just give me the chili.
Chili and cheese. You got to have cheese, man. Cheese make everything better.
Of course. I'm a nacho guy. I like the nachos with the chili, cheese, and jalapenos, me. But yeah, chili Fritos too. I got into those a little bit.
You can't go wrong with either one of those. I'll take nachos with cheese with jalapenos on them. So,
but you're a chili Frito guy, though. Chili Frito guy.
Yes. Gotcha. I'll take that over the others.
Gotcha. So tell me this, man. You had any superstitions coming up? You know, anything you had to do pre-game or had to do in a batter's box or whatever? Yeah,
on deck, I swung left-handed twice. So my first 2 swings are left-handed just to swing that way. And I did it just for my back because I thought my back problems were because of always swinging and only going one direction. I never went the other direction. So I'd always put that weight on my bat, man, and I'd swing lefty twice. Then I'd start swinging righty.
That's unique. Hey, whatever it takes. It got you 10 years. It got you 10 years.
I wasn't going to change it. That's all I know.
It got you 10 years, so that's what it's all about. Here we go with question 3. Baseball card or video game? When you saw yourself, what freaked you out most? Or what did you enjoy most? Seeing yourself on a video game or seeing yourself on a baseball card?
Oof. I thought the baseball card was cool as hell. But the video game, man, the video game, kind of blew my mind a little bit. You know, like the baseball card I expected because they took a picture of us in spring training. Yeah. You know, so like I knew that was coming and they gave us that little $5 check or whatever, or $20 check, you know, Topps did or whatever, dude. So I knew that was coming, but the video game, man, was kind of cool. And, you know, you hear some little kid go, I used you in 2005 MLB, whatever. I don't play video games, so I don't know the names of them, but yeah, the video game was cooler, but now it's the cards because I collect cards. So
definitely, that's why I go back to old school, the old school collecting cards. So for me, the card was the thing, man. I got 2 more for you, bro. You enjoy playing at home or on the road?
Oof. Well, it depends. Like I said, I play for 7 teams, dude. So it just depends on which home team you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because like Tampa, I loved it. Cincinnati, I loved it. All the other ones, I'll take the road.
Gotcha.
All the other teams. So, and Houston, I like playing in Houston too because Houston, Cincinnati, and Tampa, those 3 stadiums set up for me. Yeah. I could hit home runs in Houston and in Cincinnati because they're small ballparks. And then Tampa with the turf, I could just pepper ground balls back up the middle or through the 4-hole. So they all set up great for me, man. So like those 3, but I felt a lot more comfortable on the road because man, the crowd cheers for you if you make an error because it's the other team getting on base. You know what I mean? So like, man, I'm like, this is easy, dude. There's nobody there to, you know, but you're at home. Like when I played in San Fran, they packed out the stadium every game. And I mean, man, if you kind of struggled a little bit, man, or they start booing you. Guys, I mean, I never got booed, but I had guys on my team that had been booed. And being booed, I feared. I feared being booed by my own fans. By my own fans, I felt that one thing worried me.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. But you see that all the time, especially when you're not doing what they're expecting you to do. Exactly. The game is hard enough as it is, and you're playing 162 over 180 days. You're going to have a bad day here and there.
Oh, yeah. Well, they didn't boo you over one bad day. I mean, it would be, repetitive. You had to have a bad season and be really stinking.
No doubt. I got one more for you, and I might have a bonus, but I think I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Favorite athlete of all time?
I don't think you know this one.
No, I don't.
Man, no, you don't. Baseball player was Pete Rose, but he ain't my favorite athlete.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I got to think about this one, dude. Can I do one from every sport?
Let's do it.
Nowadays in baseball, I love Mike Trout, dude. Yeah. I love him. Just for the fact that when he first got there, I had to play third base, and they tell me to take away the bunt.
What?
Take away the bunt. I'm like, I get it. This guy's fast, man. You see how far he hits the ball? I mean, you see how many home runs this guy hits?
I'm not getting it.
Why don't you let him have the bunt? Okay, I don't want to play up with this guy hitting missiles at me. I mean, football, Patty Mahomes, dude. I played with his dad, so I love me some Patty. And he's, come on, he's the best in the game, dude.
He's legit.
Baby, he's more than legit. And basketball, dude, LeBron or MJ. I mean, I love the people battling over the thing, and I'm like, why do you guys even care which one's better, man? They're both superstars and awesome, dude. You can go right either way, but I like them both.
Gotcha.
So gotcha. I don't do hockey.
No hockey or none of that other stuff. Soccer. You was a soccer guy.
Messi. Lefty.
Messi. That's what's up, man. Definitely appreciate that. I got one more for you, and I'm gonna let you go. But we talked about a lot, and people don't realize how disciplined you were at the plate. You didn't strike out a lot. We always knew that. What would you credit that eagle eye that you had? What would you credit that to? Something that you could pick out. I know you did a lot of things as a youngster to help with that hand-eye coordination, but to be so disciplined at the plate over the course of your entire career. You had streaks of no strikeouts, some ridiculous streaks where you didn't strike out for however many at-bats or, 140 times over 2,300 at-bats. What do you credit that to?
It goes back to my childhood, man. I mean, I try to think about it now and stuff. And, number one, God. I mean, God blessed me with hand-eye. He blessed me with hand-eye coordination, man. And, that's I improved on that, but he gave it to me to start with. And like, that's where I go to my childhood. So my childhood, man, like I said, I had a house that the walkway to the front door happened to be a little kind of skinny, long walkway with just a flat wall up there, man. And I would take my glove with a little racquetball racket with a racquetball, with those blue burn balls. Yeah. I call them burn balls back there. And dude, I would just whack it against the house and then try to catch it. And I mean, dude, it's coming back hot, super hot, dude. Hot. So I would do that. I would throw it. I would do all those different things. Ping pong, loved playing ping pong, man. So like
Pirate City Classics, ping pong.
Dude, anything that was fast, letting the ball come back at me fast, and me just trying to move my hands and catch it. I think that helped me. And then, like I said, I always played up with older kids that threw gas, man. Like for me, it was gas. So at that time, so like, man, it was just try to touch the ball with the bat, you know, and that helped out and rolled over to when I got older.
Man, that's what's up, Keppi. That's what's up, man. Like I said, a classic episode, bro. I really appreciate you taking the time out to jump on a League Talk podcast. Remember, we're going to call you Professor Keppi of Keppi Consulting Agency because, man, the things that you shared today, man, is definitely a lost art. It's definitely things that people don't think about, and I really appreciate that, man. And, before I let you go, man, much love, continued success. This is the League Talk podcast,
you too, man.
And we out of here.